Yowie is a fanged humanoid marsupial, most likely a great ape featured in Aboriginal mythology. The Yowie is considered to be the Australian Bigfoot, and contains many primate-like features, possibly indicating that it's an undiscovered species of great ape or prehistoric human. The Yowie is described as being one of the most aggressive Sasquatch species, and has been reported tearing heads off kangaroos and dogs. It's even been seen attacking humans as well. The Yowie is described to be around 7 to 9 feet tall, with a large red mouth and talon-like claws according to Aboriginal legends. It's also noted that the Yowie contained 2 large fang-like canines, which distinguish the Yowie from other Bigfoot species. It usually has a brown or reddish fur. Like most Bigfoot species, it's theorized that the Yowie descends from an ancient ape called Gigantopithecus. While the Giganto-Bigfoot theory may be valid, it's highly unlikely that the Yowie descends from the same Asian ape, as creatures from Asia never made it to Australia due to sea dev, and vice versa, creatures from Australia never made it to Asia. This separation is marked by the Wallace Line. European contact with the Yowie is said to have begun with the arrival of the First Fleet in Sydney Cove in 1788. During the early colonial era, Aborigines often warned British settlers to be aware of an ape-like creature lurking in the rugged mountains and deep forests of the continent. One particular account, which reached London in a letter in 1820, told of an encounter in 1789 by convicts and a party of Marines while on a hunting trip. The men killed a bunch of wallabies and were turning to the settlement, when atop a nearby hill they saw an animal observing them among the trees, which they later claimed was twice the height of an ordinary man. The first southern sighting in Australia was reported on Phillip Island, Victoria in 1849. During this encounter, several people observed a creature, said to be between 6 to 7 feet tall, resembling a cross between a baboon and a man. At the time, the creature was said to be sitting near a lake when it was shot at. One of the stranger and more controversial sightings comes in the form of a photograph from 1936. It's one of a series of images taken by Rick Jones while working at an isolated loggers camp in Batslow, located in the snowy mountains of New South Wales. The image appears to show a large creature sitting with his hands in his lap, behind 2 men on a wooden log. Further analysis of the photo purportedly shows the head area resting near its chest looking down. This is due to tree-line matrixing. But what do you think the Yowie is? Let me know in the comments. The Janji is a type of Bigfoot from Australia. They are hairy humanoid creatures that are 2 to 3 feet tall, have black fur and are said to have large white fangs and red eyes. They live in groups where they live in caves or natural hollows of boulders. They are generally thought of as harmless, though they can be dangerous. Janjis eat shellfish and honey and have some sort of chirping language. Stories of Janjis are found in the old tales of Aboriginal people. A more recent sighting occurred in the 18th century. 10 to 14-year-old students said they saw 8 Janjis on their school. They took a few steps towards the children, then retreated into a hole into the ground and disappeared. Another sighting also occurred in 1979, where some children were attached near a mine shaft by 3-foot-tall black hairy creatures. A car window had even been smashed by one of them. There is an Aboriginal tribe in the Northern Territory which have a camp near the Janji dwelling. They believe these humanoid nocturnal creatures protect them from other evil spirits that mean them harm, such as the bush curlews, which if not for the Janji would steal their babies. The tribe moved in the Janji's dwelling after losing a lot of babies, and have not lost one since. For this reason, the location is kept secret and protected. Janji means devil devil. In Aboriginal lingo, words are repeated to emphasize size. This footage allegedly shows one of these creatures. Gigantopithecus is an extinct ape genus which lived approximately 6 million to 200,000 years ago from the Miocene period through to the Pleistocene period. This animal was enormous, standing approximately 10 feet tall and weighing around 1,000 pounds. An interesting fact about Gigantopithecus is that, judging them according to their great size, they must have been extremely strong. They could have been anywhere from 12 to 25 times stronger than a modern human being. Its enormous bulk and brute strength kept Gigantopithecus safe from predators it lived alongside, including tigers, leopards and black bears. However, Gigantopithecus is believed to have had an unusual diet. Examining the cavities of the fossilized teeth of this ape, scientists have discovered they most likely lived on a diet of bamboo, much like a modern panda does today, which is kind of odd for an ape, because they usually live on fruits and vegetation. Some cryptozoologists believe these apes never went extinct. They believe they're still living today and are now living as a mythological creature known as Bigfoot or Yeti. However, this has been thoroughly disputed by genuine scientists, because there is no credible evidence that any sort of creature like that is still alive today. Many have reported having an encounter with a frightening dark shadow man that wears a hat. The Hat Man always seems to invoke intense fear when seen by witnesses. The following Hat Man story involves a woman named Rachel. When I was around 12, my parents moved my bedroom to the basement. Immediately I began to have nightmares, and they were about the other bedroom in the basement. There were these monstrous creatures in there so horrifying and impossible for my young imagination to have come up with. Things I'd never seen before. When I had a nightmare, I would run past that room, up the stairs and to the couch. I felt like something was chasing me every time, and it only got worse until, as a young adult, I refused to sleep in that room downstairs. I slept on the couch upstairs every night. I always thought there were spirits and things even more evil than that. Fast forward to a year and a half ago, my daughter went over to my mum's house to clean one day. She was alone in the house and she told me that she saw something in the kitchen. Knowing that she knew how I felt about the house, I just dismissed it to her imagination and fears. I didn't even ask her to describe what she saw. A few months later, we lost our house and had to move into my mum's house for 4 months, and it was then that I saw him. I was walking out to the deck in the backyard. You have to open a door that leads to basement stairs, then another door that leads to the garage and to the deck. I opened the first door and initially saw him out of the corner of my eye. So I turned to look at him straight on, and he did not disappear. The shadow man just continued to walk slowly up the stairs, with his head down like he was watching where he was stepping. I believe he was hiding his eyes. I couldn't believe what I saw, and out of fear I opened up the next door and stepped out into the garage. I shut the door and looked in the window on the top of the door. I watched his dark form walk past the window, his shadow blocking out my reflection. I had a bright shirt on, making it very easy to see my reflection, but I couldn't see any of my reflection when he walked past the door and into the wall of the backyard where I was heading. I saw him in detail from torso up. I don't remember seeing his legs for some reason. He wore a brimmed hat, a long trench coat, and he hid his face. When I got back to the deck, I sat down and looked over the screen door. There, etched out of the screen, was a perfect outline of his hat. I then remembered my daughter telling me that she'd seen something too. So when she got home from school, I asked her about what it was she saw, and she described the exact same thing. I then knew it was time to find out what this thing was, so I googled it. When the images loaded, my head stood up. So that was Rachel's story. There have been many theories about the Hat Man, and especially whether or not he is a ghost at all. Could he be a time traveller or an alien? Or is the Hat Man some other form of non-human entity? It should be noted that those theories are just speculation. What is fact is that people are having experiences with a dark shadow man that wears a hat. Let me know what you think these apparitions are. Here's some encounters with alleged shadow people. One witness said the following. I was a kid, maybe 10 years old. I'd just gone to bed and was wide awake with the window open in my room. I looked out the window and there was a shadow that looked like the outline of a man. What's creepy was that he kept looking at me. My room was on the second story of our house and we had peaked roofs, so I'm 99% sure it wasn't just a person looking in. It was a shadow. I screamed and ran to my parents' room and told them I saw a shadow in the window. They didn't believe me and told me to go back to sleep. After that encounter, I used to see the shadow man on a regular basis. Another witness named Jade had this to say. I've seen shadow people my entire life, as far back as I can remember. The first memory of a house was when I was 9 years old. In this house, I used to see a hat man standing near my closet. I wasn't asleep in the slightest. I just climbed into bed and was sitting up. The last one I saw was about 2 years ago after I was sitting outside smoking on my porch. I lived on a very quiet suburban street. I saw someone walk down the cross street to my left and disappear under the street lamp. It was weird because I could clearly see it had the silhouette of a human, but it wasn't human because it was so dark. Then it walked near the street lamp and it was just gone. Ever since these experiences, I've always struggled to sleep. I feel like they're watching me. Those who are experiencing and studying the shadow people phenomenon say these entities almost always used to be seen out of the corner of the eye, but more and more people are beginning to see them straight on for longer periods of time. Some experiences testify that they have seen eyes, usually red on these shadow people. There is no way to prove or disprove any theories about a phenomenon that is so mysterious, and that happens so quickly and without any warning. Science finds it virtually impossible to catalogue or study such a phenomena. All we can do at the present is to document personal experiences, and try to piece together what the shadow people phenomenon might be. Perhaps it's an old mystery becoming more recognisable, or perhaps it represents a doorway to and from different planes of existence. The Rake is a creature believed to be a humanoid in appearance with several references in folklore and urban legends. The creature reportedly attacks humans due to unknown reasons, and often causes its victims great psychological trauma. Several theories as to the first development of the Rake point towards internet threads and online discussions. However, due to testimonies, a creature known as the Rake can be found well before these sources could have developed the idea. This is a journal entry from 1880. I have experienced the greatest terror. I see his eyes when I close mine. They are hollow and black. They saw me and pierced me. His wet hand, I will not sleep. Here's another account from 1691. He came to me in my sleep. From the foot of my bed I felt a sensation. He took everything. We must return to England. We shall not return here again at the request of the Rake. As with many creatures that fall under the heading of both urban myth and cryptid, there is little firm evidence that these creatures exist. Yet sightings continue, video clips are submitted, and people firmly believe these creatures are real. For some, they're an alien being living here on Earth, or for others they're a cryptid, or perhaps some kind of mutant canine that's yet to be quantified by science. But whatever the case, if you see a weird grey-skinned humanoid in the woods, it would be wise to run. Mantis Man is a bug-like creature that's been reported in New Jersey. This cryptid mostly resembles a praying mantis. The Mantis Man has been featured on Monsters and Mysteries in America. The odd thing about the two sightings that were present is the fact that both men were out fishing, and saw it near a body of water. Praying mantises don't usually spend their times in water. They usually spend their times on leaves and in forests, though mantises may be able to swim in shallow water. With its huge size, it can touch the bottom of the river without its whole body drifting away through the current. In all of the reports, the Mantis Man doesn't harm anyone. It's likely afraid of the people who encounter it because it always seems to run away when they get close to it. Unlike the two on Monsters and Mysteries in America, there was in fact another sighting of the Mantis Man. The police report tells that another person, Mr. Stickler, saw the Mantis Man in a riverbank. He said the following: I saw something strange on a river near my home in New Jersey. I was driving home from the drugstore, and as I drove near the bridge over the river, I noticed to my left something standing in the river just off the south bank. I slowed the car and looked closer. It wasn't a person, and it was transparent like with a weird shape. It moved slowly across the bank and into the trees. I drove further so I could see it coming out of the trees, and that's the last I saw of it. It was around 8 feet or so and had long thin arms hanging out of it. The colour was a pale brown, but I could see through it. The head was small compared to the body. It was sunny that day, so I thought it might be glare from the water, but after I thought back I realised I wasn't seeing a mirage or a glare. I checked the internet and didn't see anything about it. I mentioned it to a co-worker in my office. He gave me the strangest look and got up a forum with the Mantis Man witnesses. Many people have reported seeing the same thing. People claim that the Mantis Man may have been an experiment gone wrong, and someone who couldn't control it just set it free near a river. It may have been a mutation in a breeding situation. Some people speculate there is more than just one of these mantises roaming around. The reason why most people think it's a giant mantis instead of being something else is because it looks and does the things that mantises do, including camouflage, spreading its wings and the thin arms. The state of West Virginia has had its fair share of strange and often inexplicable events, such as the visitation of the Flatwoods Monster, but perhaps the strangest yet is the arrival of the creature known as the Mothman. The first recorded Mothman sighting took place on November 12, 1966. 5 men were in a cemetery preparing a grave for burial when they saw something they couldn't explain. Lifting off from the nearby trees was a brown-winged creature. The men held to the fact that what lifted off from beyond the trees was no bird. It was a humanoid. The creature was sighted in many places across West Virginia and the surrounding states, but the largest number of sightings happened near the old West Virginia Ordnance Works, an area now known by the locals as the TNT area. The area is riddled with abandoned tunnels, most of which have collapsed, been sealed off or become flooded with water. A wildlife sanctuary now encompasses the area. In 1979, fishermen in the TNT area reported that chemicals had been left to seep into the ponds, causing it to be labelled as an environmental disaster. By the year 1983, the TNT area was amongst the country's most polluted sites. It was here in the TNT area on November 15, 1966, 3 days after the first sighting took place, that 2 couples would encounter this bizarre creature. They were driving through the area around midnight when one of them noticed 2 large glowing red eyes in the darkness. They soon learned that those eyes belonged to something that looked human. The creature was around 7 feet tall and had wings. After stopping the car, the couples inspected the creature. The 4 realised immediately that their spectacle was no ordinary bird. The true horror began, however, when the creature spread its wings and pursued them down Highway 62, to the Point Pleasant city limits at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. Although this encounter is frightening, some have suggested the descriptions fit the Sandhill crane, the second largest American crane, which stands almost as high as a man and has a wingspan of more than 7 feet. On the 20th of November 2016, an unidentified man captured these images of what is believed to be the Mothman. The photographer gave the pictures to local news station WCHS, claiming he took them while driving on State Route 2. The station aired the pictures in a 2016 report. The images are grainy and show the silhouette of a 2-legged winged creature flying around the treetops. Bat Squatch is a flying cryptid that was allegedly sighted near Mount St. Helens in the 1980s. It resembles a flying primate and its name is derived from the words bat and Sasquatch. This creature was said to have yellow eyes, a wolf-like muzzle, blue-tinted fur, sharp teeth, bird-like feet and leathery bat-like wings that span up to 50 feet. In addition, Bat Squatch is said to be 9 feet tall and has the ability to affect car engines. This is possibly a misunderstood sighting of Mothman, considering it also affected man-made things. On April 1994, Brian Canfield was driving in Washington's Pierce County when his truck suddenly died. Canfield said a large creature landed in front of him. He said it was human-like, 9 feet tall with bat wings and also sported a coat of blue fur. Ever since then, it's not been seen and skeptics dismiss it as a hoax, although a possible second sighting was reported in 2009 near Mount Shasta in California. Several hikers witnessed a huge creature with leathery wings fly out of a crevice in the mountain. At first, an eyewitness described the creature as having a head similar to a pterosaur. On July 2011, a man was in his yard walking his dog. He went to pick the dog up when he saw something in the sky. He said the following: "I saw something flying in the sky. It had bat wings, blue fur and a face similar to glowing red eyes. It was about 9 feet tall at the least, and I watched it until it flew away." On April 14, 2014, a school Spanish class spotted a giant black mass zip across the window of the classroom at incredible speed. The class claims it was around 10 feet tall with a 20 to 30 foot wingspan. The skunk ape is a bipedal humanoid, reported in the southeastern United States, most notably in the Florida Everglades. The skunk ape's most obvious character is its terrible odour, which gives it its name. The first ever sighting of the skunk ape were reported throughout the 1960s and 1970s. In autumn of 1974, many reports were filed in Dade County, Florida. 26 years later, in the autumn of 2000, the police of Sarasota County, Florida received a letter from a woman. With the letter were 2 attached photographs of what the woman said was an escaped orangutan, who had been stealing apples from her back porch for 3 nights. After the images were released to the public, cryptid enthusiasts dubbed the creature in the photograph the skunk ape. Most sightings of the skunk ape, like Bigfoot sightings, can be dismissed as black bear sightings. It's entirely possible for a black bear to stand upright, making it appear like another animal entirely. Bears are also known to rummage through garbage bins, which could possibly explain the smell associated with this creature. Bigfoot is a large, hairy, human-like creature believed by some people to exist in the northwestern United States and western Canada. It seems to represent the North American counterpart of the Himalayan region mythical monster, the Yeti. The British explorer David Thompson is sometimes credited with the first discovery of a set of Bigfoot footprints, and hundreds of alleged prints have been adduced since then. Visual sightings and even alleged photographs and filmings have also contributed to the legend, though none of the purported evidence has been verified. Bigfoot is variably described as a primate ranging from 6 to 15 feet tall, standing erect on 2 feet, often giving off a foul smell, and even moving silently or emitting a high-pitched cry. Footprints have been measured up to 24 inches in length and 8 inches in width. A Soviet scientist, Boris Porshnev, suggested that Bigfoot and his Siberian counterpart could be remnant of Neanderthals, but most scientists do not recognize the creature's existence. The following footage was captured in 2012. The couple who recorded the video state you can hear a Bigfoot screaming. They state the screams could be heard for 20 minutes.
You hear that?
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.